All right, I didn't know how I was going to do this, but good morning, collective. I have no idea what I'm doing most of the time, so just roll with it. Today is January 8th, 2026. It's a one day. It's about new beginnings. It's about the self. Now, some of you who are friends of mine in the very, very real world know that I can get nerdy as hell when it comes to shit that I'm passionate about. So, I'm about to get super nerdy. I just spent 2 hours researching because the intuitive me, the one who listens to my inner voice, the one who comes to you guys on here with my intuition, I say a lot of words that I don't always explain, and I feel like part of the problem with the spiritual community is they have a lot of language that they don't understand. I do understand the language, but I don't always have the words to explain it to you guys. So this is going to be probably a very long video, so I may only post the introduction on TikTok and send everybody over to YouTube. I'm going to explore what spirituality is. I'm going to talk about the clairs, I'm going to talk about the chakras, and then we're going to get into the quantum science behind all of it. Okay, so first, let's define what spirituality is. The Webster's definition is something that an ecclesiastical law belongs to the church or to a cleric as such. Clergy, sensitivity to religious values, and the quality or state of being spiritual. So right now we're going to focus on the third definition, which is sensitivity to religious values. Okay, so this is referring to a personal concern with matters of the soul. I define spirituality as non-dualistic transcendentalism. Non-dualistic means the direct recognition that the apparent separation between subject, me, and object, God, is just illusory. It's an illusion. There's no separation. Okay? There's no fundamental two-ness. Only one seamless reality appearing as many. Transcendentalism, I'm not talking about the 19th century poetry movement. This is actually pointing to a reality that goes beyond or transcends the ordinary dualistic mind. Concepts, time, space, and causality. The direct knowing of that which is prior to and beyond all phenomena, yet intimately present as everything. True spirituality is not about accumulating experiences, beliefs, or even spiritual states. It's the recognition of what already is. The here and now, before the mind divides it into seeker and sought, or sacred and profane. It's not, I'm the person seeking enlightenment. This is it. This is it. It's the wordless knowing. So now what are the clairs? The clair senses. These are the subtle psychic or intuitive senses, ways the one reality communicates beyond the ordinary. Dualistic mind. Oh, I do that all the time. The ways the one reality communicates beyond the ordinary dualistic mind and physical senses. They're not extras tacked onto a separate self. They're direct expressions of the seamless field of awareness, revealing itself through seeing, hearing, feeling, knowing, etc. This isn't about you gaining superpowers at all. The clairs are the veil thinning, allowing the transcendental ground to shine through the apparent form in clearer ways. So there's 4 main recognized clairs, with several additional ones that show up frequently in mediumship. The first one, clairvoyance. This is our clairseeing. These are visions, images, symbols, or scenes viewed through the mind's eye, the third eye. Flashes of light. Okay, so examples of this could be flashes of light, mental pictures of past, future events, auras, or symbolic metaphors. It's not the dramatic visions that people talk about. This is subtle. This is the still small voice. You know, when I say something like, as when I'm doing a card reading for somebody and I'm like, oh, I'm seeing a farmhouse on a hill with a little creek running through the bottom. That actually came up in a reading about a year ago. The house is the self, the river as the flow of emotions, the self sitting on top of a hill, like there's a mountain that needs to be climbed, an obstacle, whatever, okay? That's what that is. Okay, so then clairsentience. This is clear feeling or sensing. It's perceiving information through physical sensations, gut feelings, or energy in the body. This includes sensing emotions, atmospheres, or physical states of other people or places. Knowing something's off, chills, heaviness. It is the most common clair. Strong intuition or empathy tied to bodily feedback. That's what it is. And then next we have clairaudience. This is clear hearing. This is receiving messages as inner sounds, voices, words, music, or tones, not through physical ears, but directly in the mind or as an inner voice. It's calm, direct, and concise, a single word or guidance. It's rarely the booming external voices. When I think about these, the dramatic visions or the, booming, loud voices that are coming at people, I think about schizophrenia, and I'm going to talk about that later. Okay, the last of the big 4 is claircognizance. This is clear knowing. This is sudden, inexplicable knowing. Insights, truths, or downloads that arrive fully formed, without logic, evidence, or process. You simply just know something with absolute certainty. This is divine intuition. So the other less common ones, and they usually go along with mediumship, is clairempathy, which is emotional feeling, clairalience, which is smell, clairgustance is taste, and then clairtangency is clear like the clear touching or psychometry, like being able to move objects with your mind. So these all are not something separate. None of these clairs are separate or abilities to acquire. They're natural when identification with the limited ego mind softens. Transcendental reality, otherwise known as the One, Source, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, expresses through whatever channel is open, bypassing the dualistic filters of ordinary perception. Let me read that again. Source expresses through whatever channel is open. The third eye, the ears, whatever. Whatever channel is open, that's the one that you're going to get your information through. Everyone has access to all of them to some degree, but usually only one or two dominate. For me, when I started this journey, the big one was the prophetic dreams that were just, I don't even know what to call that. I guess that would be the clairvoyance. And every now and then I would automatic write. I have notebooks and notebooks and notebooks pre-2022 that, like, where I was researching Bible prophecy and journaling my dreams as they were coming. I would begin to automatic write, and some of the stuff that came out was unbelievable, and it really taught me about faith and the Melchizedek and stuff like that. That's why I'm able to talk to you guys about that now, because I already went through all that literature, and I kind of see how it ties into what we're trying to accomplish. So practices like meditation, inquiry, which is what I've done today. This is inquiry. Like, I actually sat down, I wrote out 4 questions, and then I started diving into each of those questions. Or even simply noticing subtle impressions can awaken them, not by effort, but by relaxing the grip of separation. So now, the thalamus gland in the brain. This is what we call the veil or the filter. The brain's primary relay station and gatekeeper for sensory information, except for smell. So it filters the flood of incoming data through the body and the senses, prioritizing what reaches conscious awareness in the cortex. It's involved in attention, wakefulness, and even what state or content of consciousness is in itself. So damage or modulation here can alter perception dramatically. In spiritual context, this filtering function is often metaphorically called the veil, the mechanism that creates the illusion of separation by limiting ordinary perception to the dualistic material world. So when the veil thins through meditation, near-death experiences, psychedelics, or spontaneous awakenings, more subtle information flows through, opening to the clairs. The thalamus doesn't create the veil, it's part of the apparent mechanism that sustains the dream of separation. When identification with the separate self relaxes, the filtering softens. And the seamless reality, including clear impressions, reveal itself naturally. Direct knowing without sensory mediation. The pineal gland. I wanted to know, like, because our imagination comes from the pineal gland area of the brain. So I wanted to know, like, how the pineal gland becomes then the producer of these gifts. And that's actually not a theory that's well supported in science, but it is a beloved idea in many spiritual circles that the pineal gland is what produces these clairs. But the third eye, the seat of intuition, the producer of DMT for visionary states, is what spiritual circles all kind of allude to. However, the pineal gland it mostly just produces melatonin. So it's regulating sleep cycles and circadian rhythms. Now, it's physically nested near the thalamus in the epithalamus region. So they are close to each other and working together. The big spiritual claim ties it to DMT, the spirit molecule. It's hypothesized to flood the brain during birth, death, mystical experiences, or meditations. But current evidence suggests that trace amounts of DMT exist in the body, but there's no proof it produces significant amounts, the pineal gland. There's no proof. And there are trace amounts of DMT that do exist in the body, and we're not sure where it comes from, really. There's no proof that it produces significant amounts enough to have clear effects. It would need to produce 25 milligrams rapidly, which is impossible given the tiny size. I mean, it's only like this big. And the daily amount of melatonin output. Now, calcification of the pineal gland does correlate to reduced melatonin and dulled intuition. Practices like sunlight exposure, meditation, or decalcification protocols are said to activate it, enhancing subtle perception. The clairs are just a natural expression of awareness when the mind quiets. Alright, so now I want to talk about the chakras and how they are related to the clairs. Let me get comfortable. So the chakras are spinning wheels of energy along the spine, from the base to the crown. Each governs aspects of physical, emotional, and spiritual life. In esoteric or psychic systems, they link to specific clairs, specific clairs, which are just extensions of our senses. So when I say that, I mean, like, everybody has different states of awareness. So you can either audibly, like physically audibly, hear people talking, or, for example, like just now, I wrote down A Quiet Mind by Blue October because I was hearing that song. It's just a heightened state of awareness. It comes in at a different frequency. All right, so the upper three chakras, which are connected to the divine feminine, we all, regardless of if you're male or female, we all have a balance of divine feminine and masculine within us, and they're linked to the chakras. So the upper four chakras, the heart, throat, third eye, and crown, relate to the divine feminine. These also are linked to the four main clairs, while the lower chakras, the solar plexus, sacral, and root chakras, correlate to the divine masculine, as well as the more physical or elemental clairs. So that goes back to talking about the ones that happen during mediumship. Okay, so these are I already talked about that. So now the root chakra. So I'm going to talk about the chakras now. The root chakra, this is our grounding, survival, and vitality. Clairalience, which I believe is clear smell. Let me go back. Yes, clear smell. So, it is connected to the root chakra because it connects to the earth senses. The sacral chakra, this is where our emotions, creativity, and sexuality lay. Clairsentience, which is I suck at this. This is why I can never talk about this shit, because I know what it is, but I can't form the words to explain it to you guys. Clairsentience is our feeling, the sensing, that, and clairgustance, which is the clear taste. That's tied into the sacral chakra. The solar plexus, that's our personal power, our will, our gut instincts. Claircognizance is related to that. That's the sudden gut feelings that arrive without reason. The heart chakra is love, compassion, and connection, and it's also related to clairsentience or the clairempathy as well. Feeling others' emotions as energy. You walk into a room and you can automatically read it. And you know which people are having a bad day and blah, 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 right? The throat chakra connects to communication, expression, and truth. This is where our clairaudience, alience, and gustus, the sense tastes and smells as messages. The third eye is our intuition, insight, and imagination. This is where our clairvoyance comes from, the visions and inner sight. And then finally, the crown chakra. This is our divine connection, unity, and transcendence. This is downloads directly from source. There's nothing mystical happening here at all. This is the natural human state. Civilization and religion has moved us into a manufactured state and taught us that the natural is bad. This is why spiritual teachers tell us to get our asses out in nature, to be able to observe the natural state of those things that are out there, so that we can learn that for ourselves, because that's the state that we're supposed to be in, not what school and religion taught us. We were taught to trust the 5 physical senses: sight, smell, sound, touch, and linear thinking. And subtle perceptions were labeled imagination, coincidence, or witchcraft, and even worse, delusion. Something that is very, very dear to me, because I have watched it run through my family with a handful of balloons and a kazoo, and sitting on the front porch rocking with a sweet tea in its hand, is mental health disorders. And where my passion lays is the link to the natural state of being. So here's a thought for today. What if things like schizophrenia and other severe psychotic conditions are just the result of a fractured mind, which we know scientifically? Things like schizophrenia and borderline personality disorder are actually manufactured conditions that people obtain through physical and mental abuse from the people that are caring for them as small children. These people aren't broken, but their mind is splintered open in a way that's overwhelming without guidance. A lot of indigenous cultures saw this as the birth of a healer. Think about the shamans, the Rafikis of the world. Taught control, the fractured mind then becomes the medicine. So what if psychology broadened to teach these people control so that they could deliver the medicine of it to others? Could you imagine a schizophrenic walking through a bus station, going into a split where they have their delusion standing in front of them, but that delusion is actually just a piece of the self giving them information from the observable world? Walking up to somebody and telling them what they needed to know today. Could you imagine? When somebody with multiple personality disorder splits those other personalities, what if they're just aspects of the higher self that split off as a protective mechanism to protect the child during the abuse? And I say abuse because I'm directly thinking about the book Sybil, where her mother abused her in some incredible and awful ways. And that's what created her personalities. But what if those personalities are just aspects of her higher self? All right, so I want to split off from here and talk about the quantum realms. The conscious mind's connection to quantum mechanics points to how the seamless reality, or source, expresses through apparent form, perception, and creation. The double slit experiment, observation and wave particle duality. The first experiment was done in 1801 by Thomas Young with light, and later electrons and particles were used. Or observed. This experiment reveals quantum weirdness. And quantum mechanics is very weird. Einstein struggled to understand it. Here, electrons behave as waves when they're not observed, creating an interference pattern. An observation here means measurement. Not like literally seeing, but measuring. But when you measure which slit they go through, the pattern collapses into two distinct bands. The observer effect is the act of measurement. Any interaction with a detector, meaning a photon hitting the electron to see it, forces the quantum system to choose a definite state. The wave function is a probability cloud of possibility that collapses into one outcome. No consciousness is required here. Even an unmanned machine can do it. This is the quantum problem. Why does observation resolve superposition? The observer in Tolle's teaching shows us where the probabilities are, allowing our consciousness to choose a state. The 0 point being the point of collapse where all possibility exists. We choose then what is created, whether we're aware of it or not. Eckhart Tolle has this thing that he calls the observer. It's not the thinking mind. It's the formless awareness behind all phenomena. The I am presence that's always here, now, untouched by egoic stories, right? Because we create our reality through the stories that we tell ourselves. This happens when you disidentify from the stream of thoughts, emotions, and labels the space in which everything appears. The observer role mirrors the measurement in the double slit experiment, showing the field of probability, which is the superposition, without forcing collapse yet, because it's not identifying. When you're in pure presence, you glimpse the quantum underlay and of endless possibility, rippling as waves in the field. The ego mind, being fractured and reactive, collapses them unconsciously, often into suffering, repetition, or chaos. The loops, the trauma loops that we go through, karmic loops that we go through. But the awake observer illuminates the probabilities clearly without attachment. And consciousness chooses the state. Once the observer reveals the options, consciousness selects. This is the collapse. Probabilities resolving into definite state. Particle equals reality. So who's choosing? Not a separate you. It's the field choosing through you. So if consciousness is the quantum field, and there's a theory, two theories that were talked about, which I don't know, so I implore you to go out and search them yourself. The Orc-Or theory, and that's ORCH-OR, or panpsychism. They suggest that, well, they suggest, and I suggest, because I talk about this, that the quantum field is consciousness itself. And if that's true, then there's no external observer. The field is self-aware, self-collapsing. Your focus or presence biases the outcome unconsciously. The ego defaults to fear-based, as presence bias. So when you do this unconsciously, the ego defaults to fear-based collapses. So that's manifesting lack, conflict, or the manufactured life that civilization conditioned us into. When it's consciously observed, you align with the natural state, choosing from love, wholeness, or service, collapsing waves into harmonious forms. When I talk about breaking the matrix, this is what I'm talking about. I also discussed the 0 point, the collapse where all possibilities exist. The 0 point field is the nothing from which everything emerges. It's the void, the pure being. We create from here always, whether consciously or unconsciously. We were taught to ignore this power, labeling it as delusion. Fractured minds are stuck at the 0 point without control, so we must teach them to observe and choose. I also talk about the self as the singularity. What a singularity is a point where space, time, density, and the laws of physics break down. Think about a black hole. It's the infinite curvature in 0 volume. Beyond the event horizon, that's this, where everything seems to stop, but what's really happening is everything is being shredded and brought into the void. It's here where duality ends. It's the Atman, the I am. It's pure awareness. It's not a thing among things. It has no size, no location, no boundaries, yet everything appears within it. Dropping the identification with the ego mind results in the singularity experiencing itself as the entire field. The individual self is the aperture through which the singularity knows itself in form, and an aperture is like a lens of a camera. We are God, experiencing itself through our lives. That's how God remembers itself. That's why I say there's actually no mission, no purpose, no nothing. The only thing that we're meant to do here on this planet is to create. We create so that God can experience itself. You go into the book of Isaiah and you can Google search it right now, where Isaiah says, awake, arise. This is the call to the God, to the self, to wake up out of the dream that is the matrix. And if we're God, experiencing ourselves, that's how we know that I am you, you are me, we are the all. So I think that's enough. 40 minutes. The offering. This is card number 64. 6 plus 4 equals 10. 10 reduces to 1. And today is a 1 day. Unlike many of the other cards in this deck, the offering carries a clear as day message and a call to action. As you may have guessed, it is time for something to be given or given up. For the sake of the bigger picture, if nothing comes to mind immediately, though it's likely it will, take time and meditation to consider what must be offered and who is to receive it. It's likely you'll feel attachment and hesitancy, and you'll make excuses, but recognize the link between the words sacrifice and the words sacred. One leads to the other. When we offer up something to the greater good, we lighten our load and become more able to serve. Imagine for a moment if you were to offer your whole self unconditionally to the world. For now, start small. And if you want to go deeper into any of this, and you want to look at the mythology, read the story about Odin sacrificing his eye. And here it says, for a week, Gandhi gave up speaking for a day, offering himself to divine silence. The offering can come in all shapes and all sizes. Today, this teaching is my offering to you all, so that way you can understand me better moving into the future as I'm doing these readings, because I don't read like everybody else. I'm not here to blow smoke up your ass and tell you what your ex-boyfriend's doing with his new girlfriend, or to tell you that you're gonna win the lottery next week. If that's in your deck of cards and that's what you want to do, it's not just going to fall in your lap. You actually have to go over to 7-Eleven and purchase a lottery ticket in order to win. This is a very physical world. You have to do the work to manifest these things. They're not just going to happen. The inner work and the outer work has to be a balance. Okay. I love you guys. I'll catch you on the next video. I hope you have a fantastic day. Later.